Greetings my friends and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I have another instalment of Live Killers for you. Another live album which I think, if you're not familiar with it, definitely want to check it out. It's a cracking show, and today's choice comes from UK death doom gothic maestros, absolute legends they are, My Dying Bride. And this is a live album that was recorded in Krakow in Poland on March the 1st, 1996. And this is entitled For Darkest Eyes. Now, if you're not familiar with My Dying Bride, as I've mentioned, they are a death doom band or a doom metal band, very gothic, very influential band, more of a cult band really. Although they've reached a good status, they've headlined festivals and stages across Europe, from Damnation Festival to the smaller stages at Hellfest, I believe, and places like that. But they are one of these bands that has had such a consistent catalogue, so many great albums, and certainly if you're into gothic or doom metal, then there's no doubt at all that you're absolutely going to love My Dying Bride. So this album I was really quite surprised with, because I've only heard this a few times actually. It was a little Christmas present that I got myself when I ordered a few bits and pieces from the Peaceville Records website. I thought I'd take a chance on this one, and you know what, I was really surprised. And I have actually watched the DVD in this. You get the DVD and the CD of the show, and I was really surprised by how good the actual filming and the delivery of the concert DVD was. I saw that before I listened to the CD, and I thought it was really good. It's sort of multi-angled, multi-camera performance. It's really good, really well done, and the band, they really do look the part. They look like they are very competent and capable musicians, and certainly Aaron Stainthorpe, vocalist there, he is a really great showman actually, and he delivers a sterling performance throughout this live album. So I'll take you through some of the tracks. As I mentioned, this was recorded in 1996. This was on the tour of quite a good successful album for them entitled The Angel and the Dark River. So that was their third album, I believe, at that point. And that album does make up the bulk of the set list here. We kick off the album with A Sea to Suffer In, which is a track from midway through the album there, The Angel and the Dark River. And that is a very gothic, very melancholic, dark, atmospheric song. Very heavy doom. Cheers, by the way. There's lovely drinking horn. A little Christmas present from my wife. We'll just show that off there. So we get that wonderful introduction to the set there. A Sea to Suffer In. Very heavy material, but it's very gothic. The violin, it works so beautifully, and it gives it this really gothic atmosphere. It's really dark stuff. My personal favourite from the early era albums of My Dying Bride is Turn Loose the Swans. That was the first album pre For Lies I Sire that I actually heard. So for me, getting tracks like The Songless Bird, which is a very heavy song, in fact, A Sea to Suffer In seamlessly blends into the second track, The Songless Bird there. And The Songless Bird is much more on the death metal side, death doom side, than the gothic doom side. Very heavy, great material there, really love that song. But the real standouts for me, talking about those tracks from Turn Loose the Swans, we get an absolutely stunning version of The Crown of Sympathy, which is one of the best songs from Turn Loose the Swans, and of course Your River, which is another absolutely fantastic track from that album. Those two in particular, they're really heavy death doom songs, crushing riffs, amazing vocal work from Aaron there. He can do that haunting, sort of aching, painful vocals, like a man who is in genuine emotional turmoil, and he can deliver really guttural, sort of Nick Holmes style death vocals, and he does it so well. Those two in particular for me, The Crown of Sympathy and Your River, really do stand out. Not to forget the great introduction we have there with A Sea to Suffer In, which is a very, very gothic track, and the more heavy end of the spectrum, The Songless Bird. Then we've got a rather treat track here because we've got The Thrash of Naked Limbs, which is one of the earlier tracks of the My Dying Bride catalogue from, I think it was an EP or a single, maybe a demo, but one of the sort of pre-album tracks there. That is a very heavy song. Again, that is more on the death metal side or the death doom side than the doom end of the spectrum, but it's very well executed. We get some great guitar work. I really do love the incorporation of the violin. I think that throughout this album it really, really does stand out. In that live setting, it just seems to be so much clearer, so much bolder. Not to forget either, talking about how clear that violin is, the riffs and the bass guitar really do stand out. Again, this is a live killer, and I have to say that these killer riffs here, they really do stand out. Some of the guitar work and bass work stands out significantly more than it does on those studio albums. Not to discredit those studio albums in any way, but For Darkest Eyes is a superb sounding live album. Some really, really great renditions of these songs. So, The Thrash of Naked Limbs, a fantastic live version we get there. Heavy, doomy, gothic. Then we've got some more tracks from The Angel in the Dark River, a really great rendition of The Cry of Mankind, and the rather long, far more epic, but very dark and doomy Black Voyage. That is one of these songs with a more of like an elongated interlude section. It's just full of atmosphere, full of mood and dark ambience. Sounds killer. Those two versions there, The Cry of Mankind and Black Voyage, fantastic stuff. Your Shameful Heaven as well, and From Darkest Skies, brilliant tracks. From Darkest Skies comes in as an encore piece, and that is a very doomy track. Very doomy, very slow, very mournful, great vocal work as well. Closing the set, we get The Forever People, which is actually from the first album, a track from the As the Flower Withers album, which is a good album. I like that album, and this is a very heavy, more of a death metal, old school death metal song with doomy gothic elements in there. Sounds great. They do a cracking version of it, and it is crushingly heavy. So it's quite a long set, really. Overall, it's maybe, as it's a headline performance, maybe an hour and a half up to, and it sounds fantastic. They sound brilliant. As I say, those riffs are killer. The drumming is very consistent. Violin works so beautifully, and of course Aaron's vocals, whether it's the growls or the clean, harmonious, very melodic and mournful singing, it works so well. It's the perfect album to sit down, put those headphones on, grab your drinking horn, and just soak yourself in that misery, in that dark, ambient, gothic, doom vibes. Sounds killer. Personal highlights for me, as I've probably mentioned a few times now, those tracks from Turn Loose the Swans, The Crown of Sympathy and Your River. However, The Thrash of Naked Limbs is a fantastic track that really does stand out for me, and I'm going to say actually Black Voyage, because that is a very epic doom track. Very dark, very good stuff. Actually, to be honest, start to finish, this show is an absolute killer, hence why it's a live killer. My Dying Bride, UK death doom band, very gothic, very dark, very ambient. This killer album, For Darkest Eyes, is not a show to be missed. The DVD is great, the audio here is so well recorded, so well produced, sounds fantastic. So check it out. If you're not familiar with My Dying Bride, this is as good a place as any to start. You've got some killer material here on this set list. So for Darkest Eyes, a live killer. Are you familiar with this live album? If you are, do let me know what you think of it, because I'm very interested to hear what you have to say, of course. I hope that you've enjoyed the review. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations. If you're not familiar with this one, do check it out though. I really do recommend it if you love good heavy doom or old school death metal. Thanks for watching, my friends. As always, stay heavy.